Hey everybody, welcome back to Across Borders, a podcast about board games. And why board games? Well, because board games can bring people together no matter what their race, no matter what their gender, religion, preferences, their opinions. It doesn't matter. We can all come together. We can come across the borders. And I'm here with my good friend Noe. How are you, Noe?
Hey there, I'm doing very good, thank you. How about you?
Man, I'm doing very well. What have you been playing recently? It's been a while since we've come together on to do one of these, to record one. So, what have you been playing in the last month or so?
Yeah, so we started the campaign for The King's Dilemma with some friends, which is one of those legacy games that I had wanted to play for a while, and it's been a fun journey, a very different kind of game. It's more like a storytelling game, so it does have strategy, but you're just kind of building up a story. So really, we're all enjoying it very thoroughly.
How far are you in the campaign?
Not so far. We've done, let's see, maybe 5 sessions
out of 15, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we're like about a third of the full campaign of the game.
Sure. And what else?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's definitely enjoyable.
I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. We've been. I haven't been playing a lot of really, super heavy games. It's been mostly medium or medium-like games. We just gathered with some friends. Now that the things are getting better with the vaccines and pandemic and whatever the reason, but we've been able to get together with some more people, little by little. So I got to play viticulture with some friends at a birthday party. Small reunion we had was fun. The last time I played viticulture, it was with you actually when we played in Tabletopia online, right?
And that's been a little bit.
So yeah, it's been a few months, right? So I got to play that one again. I nearly won, by the way.
Oh.
And over the last weekend, we got a chance to play the Tiny Towns, which it's becoming one of those favorites of that specific group with my brother and my sister-in-law, who's enjoying that game a lot.
That's great.
And yeah, for sure. And we got to play Take That, which, like I said, that's also becoming one of my favorite. Oh yeah, I played the Funko Pop Harry Potter with some friends as well. So that was fun too. Get the little miniatures and all that. But pretty fun little game. So yeah, that's been my gaming life in the last few weeks.
Man, that's great. I actually last week
how about you?
I got to play Tiny Towns, but of course, since no one around here enjoys that game, it was all by my lonesome. And then I was gonna play again because my score was terrible. And my now 3-year-old, she had a birthday. She came around and she wanted to play too, but she just wanted to grab everything in the cards. And I was like, nah, let's just put it up. Let's just put it up.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I got to play Dune Imperium a month or so ago. Got to play The Crew. Some other ones, The Resistance, and also
nice.
What is that one? Fake Artist Goes to New York, which were all 4 games that I had never played before. They were all on my shelf of shame, so that's good. Knocking those things out before Kickstarters come.
Right. Yeah.
And my family and I, we are one more chapter in the campaign for my city. And that's been, I think, enjoyable for most of us. Deciding whether I want to keep the things and play the Eternal game, or maybe just make something of of what we've done. Because I definitely don't want to throw it away. That just seems like a waste after the end of a campaign game. What do you do at the end of a campaign game usually?
Yeah, as far as I know, some of those games, like another one I've been wanting to play, it's a Charterstone. And I know that one, when by the time you're done, it's a full customized worker placement game.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, it's like your own viticulture, so to speak, right? But you kind of built it up from ground up with the people that you played it with,
Yeah.
So I know that some games like the Pandemic Legacy, yeah, that's like one-time thing.
No,
it's done and it's done.
I'm pretty sure this is a one-time thing, except for the backside of the board
okay.
where there's like the rules for like the first 7 games out of 24. So we might try that. And then I've been playing a lot of, I told you yesterday, playing a lot of Century Golem Edition, and just really enjoy that one. It definitely is
it's a great game.
A good time every time. And that kind of makes me... It kind of makes me think of our topic for tonight. Now, we're not doing a top 5, but we are doing something with 5. We're doing 5 times that were very memorable when board games acted as a bridge. That's kind of our thing. The whole thing is about, board games can bring people together, and so let's talk about them. So we have both come up with a list of 5 times where board games acted as a bridge to build a relationship where there might not have been one before, or to strengthen a relationship, or to bring 2 people together who might be arguing or haven't talked to each other in years. And this was a hard list for me. What about you, Noe?
Yeah. I mean, it was hard to choose a handful of those experiences because there's been so many great times. But yeah, I think I was able to just kind of nail down and those times where they became memorable for many reasons. So it was a bit difficult to select them, but I think I got a pretty good list myself.
All right. Well, who should go first?
Maybe I can go first.
I think that we've established a pattern where you start us off, and that's okay with me. So go ahead, buddy. What's the first one of the 5 that you have for tonight?
All right. So this one, this is going to be a memorable experience with. It wasn't exactly with someone. It was with myself. And the reason I wanted to add it is it's because it was back when I was starting to play games. I remember it was about 8 years ago. And modern board games have been a thing here in the country, maybe just up until the last 2 or 3 years. Back then, it was very unknown. It was like, if you had some of those boxes, it was like, people saw you like a super nerd, and it was just like, oh yeah, like those RPG things, right? Even in my world, which is, I'm a software engineer, so I'm surrounded by people that love anime and games and video games and things like that. And even with them, I was like, the weird guy liking board games. But yeah, you can see our first video if you want to, see the full story about how I became a board gamer. But one of those really cool experiences I had is when I started playing games. And these 2 games were the ones that actually I bought first, as I mentioned in the other video. But also, I think it was such a great experience that I had that it just became like a memorable one. And I was playing both Pandemic and Gears of War in the solo mode, right? And to me, it was such a great experience and something I remember up until this day, because that's just how I became in love with board games, knowing that there were games that you can actually like play solo. But to me, it was also like, the way that I can play them, I can learn about them, and then I can share those experiences with others and say, okay, yeah, we can play together, because both were also my first co-op games, and so it was like that first experience, with board games, and I don't know, it was just so cool. And the thing is that triggered, I played those 2 games a few times by myself, and I love the experience. And so I was able to just then play with my wife and play with other friends, and it became a thing right after that, So that was my first one. It wasn't with someone, it was by myself, but that triggered everything.
For sure. Well, that's, and again, if you haven't, go ahead and watch our first episode, because you hear, there was a lot of things I heard, what you just said, that were kind of echoed in that. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the one that is the most recent. A couple months ago, I got a Facebook message from someone. I had no idea. I did not know this man at all. And he said, "Hey, you don't know me, but the pastor's wife at your church, she's my wife's cousin, and we're missionaries, and I want you to come if you're interested and play some games." Is this one of those things where, where they ask you, like, when you're a kid, they say if someone comes to you in an ice cream truck, that's how they can take you away. They can kidnap you. Were they trying to kidnap me? Hey, you don't know me. We have this one acquaintance in common. Come on and play board games. So I did with reluctance. I did talk to him some more. I did make sure that he was legit. He wasn't just saying something he didn't. He was in fact his wife was in fact the cousin of my pastor's wife. And so I thought, okay. And through talking with him a little bit, I found out that he is using board games to reach out to people in his missionary field. He invites people in to play a game, and then after the game is over, they have a great time, and he says, "Hey, if you guys would like to, we're about to have a Bible study," and then they incorporate the game that they were playing into the Bible study. And they do this with not just board games, but with food, with cooking, with crafts, with all kinds of things. And so I went to this guy's house, and it was at his buddy's house, who was also a former missionary, and they knew each other. They'd been friends for years, like 20 plus years, and I'm here, this new guy just sitting here. And it turned out to be a really interesting and fun experience. And now I wouldn't call these two people friends, but I really enjoyed the experience because I got to hear a lot of great stories from all over the country, like not all over the country, all over the world. And it was the first time I'd ever played Dominion.
Wow.
And that was good too. Played Dominion with some random expansion cards. But it was, it was a really great time. And it's something that I'm going to remember because of just being the only one there who wasn't already known to everybody else. And I'm not really good at putting myself into situations like that, but I did. So that was important. And just to hear these missionaries, talk about some things and, what they're doing for the Lord. Yeah. I just really appreciated that and to be a part of it. And that's all I got to say about that one. So.
Yeah, you kind of get a glimpse of, creative ways to use things like board games to, just show love to people, show that you care and start conversations. And that's awesome.
So what is your next one?
All right, so the next one, my next experience, number 2. This was also back then, maybe a couple of years after I started in this beautiful hobby. And the experience was the first few nights that we back in my job, back then the company was starting to grow, and we were trying to find ways to just kind of, have some team building time, right? And back then, most of the team buildings that were done by the company ended up in a bunch of people getting drunk. And I'm not against drinking. That's up to you. But at this point in my life, I'm not enjoying people just staying late and getting drunk. I'm a family guy, so I wasn't a big fan of those times. And so a friend of mine, the one that got me into board games and myself. One of those nights where they were doing some of these, reunions for whatever, we asked for permission to use one of the meeting rooms so that we could, just play together, but the owner, one of the owners of the company said, "Really, what are you going to play?" That he thought we were going to play, I don't know, like cards or something, like poker or something like that. And then we told him, "No, yeah, we're going to bring a few games. We want to, we want to play Pandemic." And he hadn't heard of any of those games, of course, before. But then when we started playing, people started to gather, and another one of those games that I had with me when we had that reunion, it was Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, and it was such a fun time. And one thing that up to this day makes me think about that time is how most of the people there were only my buddy and myself had been in the hobby for a couple of years, but most of the maybe 10 plus players that we were playing just hadn't played anything else before other than Uno and your typical games, Monopoly and whatnot. So this was like a very new experience for them. And we had such a fun time. We played for maybe 2 hours over and over and over again. And it was, some of them, I remember one of them just having the same drink. He was just so into the game that he didn't even, he forgot to drink, I don't know. So it was just we had such a great time, and it was just such a good experience to everyone involved that to this day, it was not one of those great memories that I'm going to cherish. We ended up having a bunch of other game nights, and that specific night just branched out into my, one of my first gaming groups out of the people that we were at the office. So yeah, that was such a fun time, and Deception Murder in Hong Kong provided for so many laughs and so many silly moments, and it was.
I'm wondering if there's a way to connect Gray Fox Games, who produces and distributes Deception, and Alcoholics Anonymous. Get those two together, because apparently Deception causes people to stop drinking. You heard it here. But
right.
It's a great game. It's a great story. In a very similar fashion, my next one, I wrote down something very vague. It has helped me make friends. And I'm going to be more specific here. A gentleman that I was familiar with, he went to my church. He was very intimidating to me, long time, like 20 plus years in the military, and he looked like it, very, in shape and tall and, kind of, muscular tone. And me, obviously not. I'm short and squatty and pudgy and squeezable. I'm cuddly. But when one of my friends who I've gamed with, he's the one who probably responsible for me being in games as much as I am. Again, listen to that first episode. He said, "Hey, I got this this game, Tainted Grail, and I want to start it, and I want you, would you be willing to come and play at least once a week?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's the summertime. I got nothing else to do, right?" And he's like, "I got one other guy." And when I found out who it was, I'm like, he's, I don't know. I don't really know. He's we've talked a few times. It's just, he intimidates me. And throughout that campaign,
for sure,
it really helped build a friendship there. I mean, there was some groundwork, even though he was in, like I said,
so cool.
I was a little apprehensive about, talking to him and anything like that. But because of Tainted Grail and the experience we shared through that, which was my first campaign game ever, we became friends. And so, Jason, thank you for playing that game with me. Thank you for being my friend. I'm going to miss you, buddy. He just moved to Tennessee, and he is a subscriber of this channel. So be like Jason. Yeah.
Nice. Kudos to Jason.
So your next one, sir.
All right, so my next one, this was one that we had at our, my first gaming group that came out of that. singular night at the office. So, like I said, it became my first gaming group that we were meeting every couple of weeks for a few years, right? Up until
What are you
a certain
talking about?
pandemic hit.
Are you talking about Iberia?
And so
Iberia or Fall of Rome
yeah, I
or
don't know, right?
Call of Cthulhu? Which one are you talking? Season 2?
Right.
Oh, the real one.
The actual 2020 pandemic, right?
The real one.
Yeah. And so I remember, we at that point we had already played a bunch of games. We had played party games, we had played Euro games, we had played combat games. So we were pretty well versed with a bunch of different mechanics, and we already had played some deck builders, and so we had some experience under our belts, right? But then came this game that again challenged our knowledge and what we had known up until that point, and it became a super fun experience because we usually used to have maybe one or two people fairly new to the group every now and then, right? Well, no, it was not always the same group, and so we usually either had my wife eventually also became part of the gaming group. But there was another guy who used to go from time to time, and then I remember he brought a different girlfriend every like 3 or 4 months, right? But the cool thing is, I remember this one time where he brought one of his girlfriend at that point, and we were all deciding what to play, and I remember bringing Captain Sonar, and from the reviews up until that point, and it was fairly new. It was like recently, released, and I was able to get a copy when it was newly released. And we were exactly 8 people, right? And for those that have never played Captain Sonar, it's a game that plays the best when it's exactly 8 people. You can play with less players, but it's not as good. 8 people is the exact the best spot to play that game. And so that group was like I said, sometimes we were like 5 or 6, sometimes we were like maybe 9 or 10, and we split into 2. But that time it was like the exact 8 people, and we played Captain Sonar, and it was such a fun experience. It was hilarious, it was surprising, it was tense, and I remember we there was a couple of new guys at that point that joined into the group, or visited, more like it, because they weren't like a frequent part of the main group, but they had such a fun time, because it's such a different game than anything else out there. It's its own genre, I guess, that it became a super memorable time, and from that point on, whenever we were exactly 8 people, we always played at least maybe 2 or 3 games of Captain Sonar, because it takes 10 minutes to play 15 minutes. So yeah, it brought so much fun, and it like we were experienced gamers and new gamers, and we all had such a great time. So that was my number 3 experience, with our
now. What I
group
took
and
away from
playing
that
something
story,
different.
number 1, is thank you for wives who are willing to play games with us. Thank you, Sabrina. And 2,
thank you,
at first
Elizabeth.
I was thinking, single gamers out there, this guy had a new girlfriend every couple months, so there's hope for you too. But then I thought, what did he have a girlfriend, and then he brought her to the game night, and then they broke up because the game nerdiness, and so he had to find a new one. So I don't know if that should give you hope or if that should distress you.
Right. It looked like she had a lot of fun.
Good.
She was laughing, and she was part of the action. So, but who knows?
All right. So my
he
next
will probably know.
Very similar to my last one. About a year ago, it was a Saturday night. I was about to fall asleep because it was late, and I had to get to church early the next morning. And I got an alert on my phone. And of course, with this day and age, you check your phone. And I looked, and it said I had a new message, like a Facebook Messenger message from this guy named Noe Anton. I'm like, I don't know a Noe Anton. And it said, hey, I saw your post. I've seen some things you've written on the Dice Tower and on their Facebook page. And I looked, basically, I creeped you out on Facebook. I stalked you out. I see that these are the things that you are. And, we should be friends. And so I accepted his friend request. And I thought, okay, if this guy turns out to be a weirdo, I'll just unfriend him, whatever, He'll probably never talk to me again on Facebook Messenger anyway.
Block him.
And then, like, the next day, this guy kept messaging me, and he started asking some, questions about, the pandemic and how it's affecting my family. And I thought, you know what? If this guy if he's legit, let's just tell him the absolute truth, and let's see how fast he stops messaging me. And he still hasn't stopped messaging me. So, definitely a time when board games has been a bridge is becoming your friend, buddy. I couldn't not include that. So, wanted to make sure we got that out there, because without board games, literally, we would not be friends. Without board games, we literally would have never met. Ever.
Exactly.
And so thank you, sir, for being such a good friend.
For sure.
And I'll stop being sappy.
No. The feeling is the same. It's mutual. You know that. It's been such a great time, and we've been able to actually play a few board games across borders, using technology. So there's been also that, we've been able to do some tabletopia every now and then. And so, looking forward to the day when we can
I'm sure it's
actually
coming.
meet
I'm
and
sure it's
play a pretty good board game in person. So definitely same here.
Number 2.
Of course, it will be. All right. So.
Oh, number 4. Yeah, I guess I was going. It's not.
Be number 4,
memory number
actually.
4. We're not doing a top 5 list. Memory number 4.
No. Yeah, it's just. Exactly, just number 4. So this one is, this is it was one of those times where it's become a bridge with someone that's close to me, and this was near a Christmas a few years ago, and I remember that time I had to work. We were able to find, a friend that had a house in the beach, because we were trying to get like a family trip, including my siblings, including my dad, my in-laws too. So it was like the entire family. We wanted to go like. Maybe get a house, or there was no Airbnb back then, but we were able to just get a house near the beach over here, because the closest beach here is about 3 hours away. It's not that far. But the thing is, they all told me, why don't you bring some games, right? And I remember one of those nights where we were playing. At that time, my wife was already part of the group. I already had the gaming group, going on. But we hadn't played. I hadn't, been able to convince some of the members of my family to play. But I remember specifically, someone that, at the beginning wasn't really that interested in any board games. But then I remember we started playing a few party games, and he was there because, it was late at night after a full day of enjoying the beach. And so my dad was there. And my dad and I, we have a pretty good relationship, but we're so different, we are very different in many ways. And so there's been instances where we've had our fair share of differences. And so there's many things that we don't share a lot, but there's one thing that we do share, and it's our love for sci-fi. And that's one thing I got from him. And I remember that thinking when I was going to get some of those games into the beach, I'm like, which game from my collection I will be able to, pull my back in, pull my dad in, so that he can enjoy it, And the game in question was The Captain is Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, but that's okay. Tell me. This is a good story.
I think
Tell
I remember telling you about this at one point, buddy. So, yeah, and the thing is, I remember we were playing, like I said, a few other games, but then I took The Captain is Dead out. And the entire look of the game is, it's this funky 70s style, minimalistic kind of game. And for those out there that don't know the game, it's a co-op game. It has a few mechanics that it shares with games like Pandemic, where each game has its own role. And you're in a ship, and the ship is about to blow up, and there's aliens everywhere, and pieces of the ship just falling down. And so you have to use your abilities together so that you're able to trigger the jump drive and run away from the aliens and from the danger. But it was really cool because it felt like one of those 70s show like Star Trek, when when things were falling apart, and you had to work together, and you are in the space. And so I remember my dad started work, but he got really invested in the game. He started making decisions and telling people what to do. And I don't know, at that point he was really not interested in any of the other games, but that one, he really got invested in it. And I haven't been able to see him because of the pandemic for a little while, because vaccinations have been a little bit slower here in Mexico. But in one of those recent phone calls that I had with him, he asked me about the game. He's like, "Do you still have that game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have. The Captain is Dead." And he said, "Yeah, when we meet again, maybe we can play it." I'm like, "Of course we can play that game."
Yeah.
So that was an awesome experience playing with
amazing.
my dad in a house near the beach.
Well, the next one for me is the fact that gaming has brought me closer to my brother and his wife, my sister-in-law. My brother and I are about 11 years apart. We are exactly 9 years and 8 months apart. 10 years and 8 months apart. So there's a large age gap. I mean, I was graduating high school when he was in second grade. So, I mean, that's a lot of differences there. And I just, because of the age difference, I just never really thought that there would ever be much of a relationship there, as far as the brotherly friendship type thing. And even as he got older, right. I mean, he had kids they had kids at a young age, and so they would come and visit us sometimes before they ended up moving here. And I mean, things were good, I enjoyed having them, but we just really weren't all that close. And we did, part of the getting closer is the fact that they're here. He's a little bit older. We can do things together. But because we started playing board games pretty much every Sunday night now for a while, we've missed a few here and there, but it's gotten to the point where now, I've seen him like 3 days this week already, and it's Wednesday, at least while we're recording this. And, I'm going to see him Saturday. I'll see him Sunday. I'll probably see him some other times in the week. So we've just gotten a lot closer. And usually if I come over there for any reason, they're like, "You bring any board games?" So I was just over there last night, and we played Century Golem.
There you go.
It's been really nice to get to know them better, because it's hard not to start building relationships with people when you're constantly sitting at a table with them. And many times there's very little distractions. Even if kids are going crazy in the background, sometimes you have to stop. When you sit down in those peaceful moments, I mean, it's just you guys talking and sharing an experience in front of you. So I'm really thankful that board gaming has helped me become closer with my brother and my sister-in-law. Yeah. You got one more to go.
That's so cool. That's so cool, buddy.
One more.
All right, so we got one more to go. My last one. This one is a great memory because you know it involves people that eventually became really good friends. And so the way that it happened is, so I remember, I'm a man of faith. For those that are watching the video, my wife and I are leading a church right now. We're Christians. And so there was this, these married couples retreat at church. And, they had been inviting us for quite a few times. For whatever reason, we hadn't been able to because of the dates that, we weren't able to go. But I remember there was this one time, and we didn't know a lot of people back then at the congregation that we were going to. I didn't, I was only friends with the pastor at that point, and maybe one or two other people that I knew, but it was fairly new to us. But I remember we decided to go to that married couples retreat, and I brought a few games. I was like, maybe there's going to be an opportunity to just play some games. If in the worst case scenario, it's my wife and I, because usually, like I said, my wife has been my gaming partner for the last few gaming groups that we have, and so I brought a few small games, those that fit in your pocket. But I remember, we started to play because in a retreat you have a few hours that you can do whatever you want, just between all the teachings and all the conferences and the activities. And, we had a few hours to spare one of those days. It was maybe 3 or 4 day retreat. And so my wife and I sat down and we brought a few games and we started to play. And then people started to gather, and say, hey, how are you doing? And what are you doing? And we're like, yeah, we're playing this game and whatnot. But I remember taking one game that I'm like, I'm gonna bring a party game something quick, something that I can bring to the table and have fun. We're not gonna be able to have a lot of time to play some highly strategic, so I need something small, something tiny, something I can bring and something to create a moment, something to remember. Yeah, and I brought Insider.
Yeah, from Oink Games.
I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
Yeah,
but it's a tiny game. This is about this size. From Oink Games, exactly. And so I remember, they were interested, and at that point it was like maybe 7 people there, and I'm like, okay, we can all play this game because it's for up to 8 players, right? And it was such a fun time, because of the nature of the game. For those out there that don't know the game, it's a small game where the mechanic of the game is that each player sits down with a secret role. It has a little bit of hidden deduction, but one of the players play as an insider, so it's kind of like it has this semi co-op element, and then everyone closes their eyes, and the insider gets to see a keyword in the cards, and then there's another one that just acts as the guy driving the game that also sees the keyword, but they don't know about each other, because he closes his eyes, and then you see the same keyword. So it's an entire fun and hilarious time where the others are giving you clues, and you can only say yes, no, or I don't know. And the insider knows, but he's trying to get points for himself and not for everyone else. So it was such a fun game because it broke the ice, and one of the cool reasons why it became a memorable moment is one of those couples that we played with became such good friends of ours, and those are the guys that we play the King's Dilemma with, and we see each other perhaps a couple of times every month. Their kids are friends with our kids, and so we became really close after that experience, and it was just thanks to Insider and breaking the ice and such a having such a hilarious
this last
time,
one I did save for last, not because it's the one that I it is. This is the one that I care about the most. No offense to anything that anyone I've talked about. But this one will stick with me for sure, forever.
Right.
And it was around this time last year. Actually, it was in April of last year. And my dad had just died from COVID. And I was staying with my mom. Just, my family was back here at home, but I was with my mom, and it was just the two of us for most of the time. Now, being a gamer, I did bring some games in a bag. You never know, right? You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I read some rule books, and because it was a lot of just sitting
We always
around,
do.
and we didn't do a whole lot. It's just me and my mom, and there's only so much old television you can watch, and sometimes she wanted to talk, sometimes she just wanted to be alone and cry, and
Right.
it was one night I convinced her. I said, "Hey, Mom, you want to try to play a game?"
Yeah.
And she's never been much of a gamer, never at all. And I said, "It's really simple. All you have to do is roll dice, put those dice out, and try to win cards. First one to 40 wins." And so she agreed, and I took a picture of her playing. And so my number one moment of just board games acting as a bridge was playing Roll For It with my mom just a few days after my dad had passed away. And it was one of the only times I feel like that she didn't forget about what was going on, but kind of, just took a moment to have fun.
Right.
Life was still going to go on for her and for all of us, even though it was a very tragic event.
Yeah.
And it was definitely heavy and definitely sad. But, I mean, you can, in the picture I took, you can almost see a smile on the corner of her, as she's rolling the dice. And I will never forget, I'll never forget that. And it definitely is, it helped me through it as
So
well,
cool.
because, board gaming's for me is a stress reliever. It's, it helps you to forget about what's going on around you and just focus on a problem or a puzzle or whatever. And that definitely helped me, and I think my mom as well, to just focus on the fact that life is going to continue, even though it's a little bit in turmoil right now.
For sure.
So that is the last one I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Oh,
Things will
of
be
course.
okay.
Now, I wonder if anyone who's watching this
beautiful.
video
Thank
has
you for sharing that.
any experiences, any memorable time that they would like to share in the comments below about a time where board games acted as a bridge, or just a moment that you will always remember because of board games.
Yeah, please do.
And if you love stories. And if you haven't already, please, think about subscribing to us. We're just here having a good time, and we want to have be able to present these videos and these podcasts to as many people as possible. And so, like, share, do all that social media stuff. We would greatly appreciate it. And always remember, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from.
For sure.
Board gaming can definitely bring us together, even if we are across borders. Until next time.